Like, how shitty
Yeah,
is that?
I don't know. What disease does her sister have? Does she just have scoliosis? Because it looks like a lot more than just her spine twisting around. Like, what the fuck? She got leprosy?
I don't
Or
know. She looked like she was halfway into a werewolf to me. Like when
I
I saw
know,
her from
like
behind.
that's what I didn't like very much. It's like,
Yeah. Hey, El Toddo.
what's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 17. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with El Toddo.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Doing good. The weather's finally got better, but still
Nicer
just
weather,
sitting in
same
the house.
old virus.
Yep. That's the new
Yeah.
norm, I think.
I think so. But let's keep our podcast the norm. And today we're talking about a film from 2019, a remake, Pet Sematary, directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. And you and I both streamed this. And I want to know, as usual, I'm going to go with you first. What did you think initially after watching it?
I was total mixed emotions at the end of the movie because I was pretty disappointed, but I laughed like hysterically throughout the last 20 minutes of the movie. So I was in like a pretty good mood when everything
Sure.
ended. But yeah, I had major mixed emotions. It's one of those things where I had, cherished memories of the original as a little kid. And I don't think that worked in favor of me liking this movie. And it even had me questioning how good the original movie was. So yeah,
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I had a lot of major mixed emotions at the end of this one.
All right, fair enough. I think I'm kind of with you there. I think I had maybe a little bit worse of an experience than you did with this movie. I was extremely let down. Not that I had extreme high hopes or anything, but I just feel like horror today is kind of made like a comeback, a second golden age, I feel like. There's been a lot of really good horror films coming out.
Yeah.
And this kind of felt like not only was it a remake of Pet Sematary, but it retained that like old horror style feel of the films back in that like early 90s, late 80s era.
Like that horror cheese.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it looks great. The film looks good. I like that it's updated in that sense. But in terms of like the story and some of the characters, I don't know. I couldn't get too invested in it. And I was really disappointed at the end.
Yeah, I could see that. It had a really strange flow of a horror movie.
Yeah.
It was just like horror movie from the outset, just completely overdone with like the horror music and the creep vibe.
Yeah. And like what's funny is that's not even really where my big criticisms of the movie came from. Like I thought some of the scares worked fine, but it was almost just like they recycled the whole horror formula in this movie. And I just wasn't impressed at all.
No.
Like I was hoping to find and see something new and exciting, and I kind of just got more of the same in terms of the good old horror movie.
Yeah, it made me even question those old horror movies.
Yeah.
Like why do I have such great memories of them? You know, when you go back and watch an old movie and it's always awful compared to what it was in your memory.
Yeah, that's like me and like the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Like I'll go back. I just remember that being. I had that on every day. I thought it was the greatest film ever made. And then I go
fucking
back and
hate
watch
the
it,
Mighty Ducks.
and I'm like, this movie's awful. But it's so good to like an 8 or 9 year old.
Right?
So I think maybe we have a little bit of that going on with this film. I wasn't exposed to like the original when I was a kid, but I have seen the original a few times. It's been years, so maybe it's not as fresh. But this film may be a little bit better than that one, but I don't know by how much.
I saw the original probably at 7 years old.
Yeah,
So it was like 3 years out by then.
right.
And I had a sister that was a lot older than me, and she would come to where we lived and play horror movies. She would come and spend the summer with us when she was off from college.
Yeah.
And she would make me watch, It and Pet Sematary and Children of the Corn and all of these old horror movies. And that's when I saw it, and I haven't seen it since then. So
would you say your sister planted the seed of horror in you?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But
yeah.
I feel like if I go back and watch all of these horror movies that I have really cherished memories of, I'm going to watch them and just be like, oh, man, they're completely awful. Why do I think they were these great movies? And, so it came out, the new Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and was so good.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of expectations for this movie.
Yeah,
because it's right in that same vein, same Stephen King adaptation, same time period when the original came out. So I expected as good of a job with this one as the old one, and maybe this story is just not as interesting as the It story.
No, and we're gonna get into that too. And I mean, well, I guess we could just get into it now. See, what's hard for me is I don't know. I've never read the book. So I don't know.
Me neither. I don't read any fiction.
Yeah, I've never really dug into any of Stephen King's novels. I've only been exposed to what's been on screen. And I don't know if my problems with this movie are based off of what the movie had going for it, or if it's just a problem with the story of Pet Sematary in general. Like, that's what I can't put my finger on. Like, I don't know. There's just so many things in the film that just didn't make sense. I felt like there was a lot of contradictory stuff going on. Like, the characters would be like, oh, I care about you, or I care about Ellie so much. So because I care about her, I'm going to have you bring her dead cat back to life, even though I know he's going to come back extremely fucked up. But that's okay. It's because I care about Ellie. Like, that's where I was just like, I can't buy into this. You guys, you're not making sense to me.
Well,
like,
I mean,
what you're trying to sell.
Well, they kind of put a qualifier in there for that. When he says, like, they feast on your grief, and when you have a death, that's when they come.
Oh, okay. So
and
you're saying it was his grief.
Yeah, like like whenever there's a death, that's what draws them to make the horrible decision to go bury someone in the mountain swamp area.
Okay. All right.
That's the part I don't know. I don't like geographically some problems with it. But so, yeah, they do put a little qualifier in there for a major problem that you have with the movie. Because then, it's even a worse decision to bury your daughter there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, maybe that brings up my score, like 0.1 points, 0.2 maybe. But
because they justify
it.
Maybe
by like inserting a sentence that I clearly missed. But like, yeah, that was the thing. Like, okay, the cat comes back all screwed up, and Lewis sees that, but he's like, okay, maybe it's a good idea if I bury my daughter, and we'll try it again. I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't understand your motivation, because you clearly see what's going on.
But I mean, to be fair, if you think about any horror movies, how many horrible decisions?
Well, yeah, I guess you can't.
You wouldn't have. Yeah, you wouldn't have horror movies without horrible decisions, right?
That's my other, like, I love horror films, but my other gripe with horror films, it's like, how many times do we see the story of the family goes into the new house, and the house is so jacked, and they're just like, let's just wait it out like a good 5 months and see if any of this gets better, and it gets progressively worse, and then they're just like, no, I think we can stick it out. We're gonna be all right. Well, let's just try it.
Yeah, and then in this movie, there's not even like any good at the new house. It's just immediately bad once they get there.
Yeah, it's just all so shitty. Uh,
But I feel like the story and the plot is very in line with the first one. The only major difference is Gage dies
yeah,
in the old one.
right.
And I did like how the older daughter died, because when she comes back as like a zombie or whatever you want to call it, undead,
Yeah.
she had a lot more vocabulary to be evil with, and I just found it all really funny, that part of it.
Well, here's the other thing too. So like the fact that in this film Ellie comes back as opposed to Gage, I think that's actually a better decision because with Gage in the original one, he's like this little kid. You don't really get to know him as well as you do with Ellie in this film.
Yeah,
Like she's a lot more fleshed out and you care about her a lot more. So when she dies, that's more impactful to the audience, I think.
yeah, and her
Um,
whole kind of struggling to comprehend what death is, and the parents struggling to be honest with her about what death is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That works well to have her be the dead one, because she even
Right.
jabs back when she's like the zombie girl
Yeah.
about that exact thing.
And like I know we're kind of jumping in between like story and character, but it's okay because I think it's hard to talk about the story without mentioning some of those character moments, at least with this film. But like, yeah. So I mean, aside from that criticism, I do like the casting of the movie. Like I do like the actors they chose to play the characters. Like I didn't have any problems with the actors themselves. My problems came with like the characters, like how the characters were written. So like I don't know, that's another critique I have of this movie. The characters, a lot of them have just these dead end story arcs.
Well, and like
Like literally.
and yeah, well, yeah, yeah, literally. But the characters, and like, because you don't really have a plot line or a
No.
story without these characters. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. And they all have. Did you get this when you were watching the movie? It went like the first, hour of the movie went by rapidly.
Mhm.
It went by so fast, and then I was like, none of the shit I remember from the first one has even really happened yet. And
Like
then
in
it
terms
was
of
like,
how they stretch out the story.
yeah, it felt like the flow was strange.
Yeah. I got a little bit of that vibe.
But yeah, all the characters, they just have this kind of flat line. I mean, the main character, Lewis, played by Jason Clarke, he
Mhm.
goes from like the normal, good father doctor to like a complete psychopath
Yeah.
rapidly.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't even, and it happens. I don't remember the like fucked up kid from the car accident. Maybe I do. Maybe that is in the first one. Is that in the first one? The kid from the car accident that like dies in front of him?
I can't remember, to be honest. The sister, Zelda, is in the first one, but I can't remember if the kid, Victor, I think's his name in this movie. I don't know if he's in there.
Yeah, Victor Pascal.
Even his character in this movie, like, what is the point of that character? Like he dies and then he's there as a ghost warning, and that's it. Like you don't need him in there. You can cut him out because they don't listen to him anyways. It's
Yeah, it's like
see what I mean?
Yeah, like he doesn't believe it, but he's basically crazy from that point on in the movie.
Yeah, and here's the thing too, like when all those events happen and he sees them, I still don't get the sense that he believes it.
Exactly.
It's just like that's what I'm saying, like
Well, maybe
have
he's possessed by these,
yeah,
grief
but-
demons.
Right. And see, I think that's where maybe the film is a totally different story from the novelization because you can go into details like that.
The novel's probably awesome, right?
Yeah, and that's what most people say about these like Stephen King adaptations. Like 95% of the time, I'd say.
Yeah, that's
But,
a
like,
good point. That homie that we work with, he reads like every Stephen King
Yeah, and he
book,
swears
and,
like
and he hates all the movies.
yeah. Like even the ones I thought were pretty decent, like Doctor Sleep.
I like Dr. Sleep.
So did I. This is not Doctor Sleep.
No.
But like but yeah, I just like there were so many character moments where I was just like, man, such a wasted opportunity to give us some kind of arc for a character and it goes nowhere. And like Rachel, let's like go in a little bit into Rachel. Like she has this interesting past, right?
Not interesting, terrifying.
Well, yeah, terrifying, but then like the way it affects her psychologically, like I thought that was done really well. But what's the purpose of that? Like,
Yeah, it's
you,
almost like a shoehorned
you know what
creepiness put into the movie.
yeah, like her character has no purpose. Like in fact,
Yeah, and if
the
she's got
climax of her character moment is her leaving the house so that things can happen. Like,
yeah, I didn't like her character that much. She was like way too hysterical the whole movie.
yeah,
And like way too shook up. And maybe the grief demons are feasting on her grief. That's why she's having such a hard time.
it could be. And like I was okay. I was okay with her grief because I mean, if I had a childhood like that, I'd be pretty jacked up too. My problem was that it didn't go anywhere. Like that, her background did nothing for the story to progress it at all. Like she didn't further the plot of the story at all to me. She was just kind of there. And this is one of the first films I think I've seen in a long time where I felt like a lot of the characters were useless.
Yeah.
Like they just didn't do anything to get the story going. Minus like obviously Lewis and Judd and then what happens to Ellie. But like there's a lot of supporting characters that are just kind of there. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't know if you felt the same way or if I'm being too harsh. But
No, I feel you. I didn't like I don't know, it felt like they were trying to really do justice to the original
mm-hmm.
and maybe overdid it.
Maybe.
But flow wise it like I felt like they didn't spend like Ellie wasn't around long enough as like a demon child.
No, that's true. I feel like most of her purpose was to set up your feelings about her as a normal kid so you can like be affected by the time she gets killed.
Yeah.
They could have dug into that a little more in terms of like her evil
Cuz
zombified.
I really I loved when she was around as the little zombie kid.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
my favorite part. Like the last 30 minutes of the movie or whatever. I was like
She
big
did
old
such a good
smile
job.
on my face, laughing my ass off. Even though
Yeah,
it's not meant to be funny at all. That's
Well,
supposed to be like the scariest part of the movie, and I was just
That's a
hysterically
problem.
laughing.
Like that's a problem when we're discussing like how much you were cracking up. Like with a movie like this, you're not expecting that because I mean, at least to my estimation, I don't think that was the tone they were going for.
No, not at all, dude. But there's also a ton of baggage with this story.
Yeah.
And the time frame we grew up in. Because Judd is a recurring character on South Park. And Butter's my favorite character on South Park. He kind of plays Gage in that they like spoof the hell out of this movie on a few different episodes. But whenever Judd talked in this movie, I just had the South Park voice in my head. Sometimes dead is better. Like I was just laughing every time he said something. But I thought John Lithgow did a really good job at playing Judd.
Like that's a direct line pull, right, from the original, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
That's one of those
in
one-liners.
South Park, I don't think he says it in. I don't think he says it in this one. I don't know if he says it in the old one. But Butters is he's going on this journey, and Judd shows up, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to go down that road," and I was hoping so bad he would say that in this movie just so I could laugh at it because it's so funny in South Park. But when he said sometimes dead is better, I was just like fucking rolling laughing. And my girlfriend, who doesn't like horror movies at all, she was like kind of freaked out, and like we had all lights off trying to like get the horror vibe up.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're totally ruining this movie for me," because I was like laughing hysterically the whole time.
Well, here's a good question. Did she think it was scary at all? Like,
No.
minus your cracking up next to her?
No, she was like, "That was pretty cheesy."
Yeah, okay. All right.
And
See,
I felt like it had quite a bit of a cheese to it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess that's what I meant by this is a classic horror film in the sense that it gives you all the cheese because it's taken itself way too seriously. And, like, not in that good sense where, like, we mentioned It and It Chapter 2. Like, there's some scenes in that film, even with Pennywise, where he's, like, legit funny. because
Yeah.
it's so morbidly gross.
Well, there's actually a ton of. I mean, the second one,
yeah.
there's tons of comedy in that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still kind of scary.
Yeah, it's totally different from this film.
Yeah, there's like
and
nothing scary in this at all.
another thing I'll say too about this is just in terms of like the atmosphere and the feel of this movie. I definitely got a sense that it's like very dreary and there's no life, like in terms of the way things are shot, the kind of music, the atmosphere they're building, the way sets look. You always constantly have this feeling of like just death and dread and like just complete depression throughout the whole film.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's like no light moments.
No, it definitely has like a constant tone, and I'll give that to them. Like in that sense, you can really get a sense of what the characters are feeling in the film because you feel that as an audience member with just the way they're setting up everything, like in terms of atmosphere. But like again, it's problems with characters and motivations, and I guess just because some of the little details I didn't pick up on, like at least on the first watch, maybe that's why I didn't buy them as much as maybe I should have. But like let's take Judd for instance, right? We're introduced to Judd in the cemetery, and like he sees Ellie there and she's climbing around stuff, and he comes out as like this old grizzled angry man. And then like 5 minutes later he becomes this like Santa Claus grandpa character that you absolutely love. And he's like, Ellie changed my life. I love her. Like I haven't talked to anyone like this in a long time. The rapid shifts like that, I just can't buy into.
Yeah, he could have been a little more grizzled and a little more cautionary.
Like they could have
to
kept that
them.
up a little longer
Yeah.
without just like flicking the switch and he's like, "Oh, I'm nice now. Like I love Ellie." But like that's nothing on John Lithgow.
No.
Like I love John Lithgow. He's a great actor.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's the acting, it's the problem.
No.
I think it's the characters like you're saying.
Yeah, and like
and how
I said,
they all integrate with the story.
right.
Which just it kind of breaks my heart cuz I feel like the old one probably sucks.
And
And
yeah.
I had it cherished as this awesome horror movie.
Actually, initially coming into this, I'm like I said, I was wondering if I had a problem with the film or the book or Stephen King's story, but I don't even think it's his story. It's probably, I mean, I know there's a bunch of fans of Pet Sematary, the novel, and I guess that's just a problem of adapting the details of a novel like that into, what was this film, like 2 hours? Maybe
like
a
an
little
hour
under?
and 45 minutes.
Yeah, you can't get all those little details that help flesh out some of those
You can't
character
get, you can't get the
moments.
depth of the characters.
But I feel like still they could have found a way to do it differently than what we got in the film and still had it be somewhat meaningful, I guess, to someone like me.
Okay.
But I don't know. And the film had 2 directors.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for meaning. I was looking to be scared.
I mean, it's not that I
And-
was even looking for meaning. I just like when the character said something, I wanted to believe that they believed in what they were doing, and I didn't get that.
Oh.
Like when John Lithgow said, "I care about Ellie, so I want to do this, and you should do this." I didn't buy into that because I didn't believe that he cared at all.
Well, he kind of didn't. If he really
No.
cared, he wouldn't have done that. Because again, then you got an evil cat.
Yeah, but I mean, you make me feel a little bit better about the detail of like the beyond place, how it feeds off of your grief.
Yeah, and that's probably way more fleshed out in the literary version.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
like,
probably cool, you know? It's
Yeah.
probably this really cool thing that they just don't have the time. You got to explain it through, short speaking old man talk.
and see, that's where I'm gonna like put the blame on the directors and the writers. Like, that's a pretty important detail, and like I obviously missed it because it seemed like it was a line drop from Judd.
Yeah, and it seems like you maybe could have developed that storyline more with other characters in the town.
Right.
Because all the whole town seems to know it's real. They all do their little ritual with the masks and shit
Yeah.
when they go bury their pets.
Yeah.
So like
Someone's listening right now and they're like, "You novices, like it's all in the book."
exactly. Well, of
But
course.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably all in the book.
right.
What did you think of like the masks and stuff?
Okay, there's another useless detail. Like, you see the creepy kids like with their their animal skin masks, and they're like marching off to the pet. Are you talking about those kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're marching off in this procession to the pet cemetery, and it's like that's the last you see of them, and it doesn't really do anything for the story other than tell the audience that the cemetery is creepy.
Well, and
And then
then Ellie rocks the mask later.
Yeah, she does, which is cool. Oh, so wait, are those kids like undead?
I don't think so.
Okay, see, like it doesn't make sense. Like there's no point to it, and then like they just kind of
Everyone in the town, at the rate these undead things kill shit,
yeah
everyone in the town would be dead if those 4 kids in the beginning doing the little procession.
yeah if they were undead.
Yeah, the whole town would be murdered by
Yeah.
halfway through the movie.
So yeah, I mean, I even had that in my notes. Like I wanted to talk about them a little bit, but like they look cool. It looks creepy. It feeds into the creepiness of the atmosphere.
I
but
can't
that's all
remember
it
if
does.
that's in the first one or not.
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
Not that I can remember. But like that's all it is something creepy to look at. It has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't further the plot. And like when movies do that, that's when I check out. I'm just like, ah. But I mean, on a positive note, like I said, the actors did as good a job as they could with what they were given, I think.
I liked Jason Clarke's eyes once he's like completely lost it.
That guy's a good actor.
Yeah, like how swelled up and red and watery
Yeah.
his eyes are. And
Like, see, for me, I guess I bought into the grief that they were selling. Like when he gets messed up and he's, really distraught, I bought that. All of the grief in the film, I bought. The actors gave fine performances. It's just, like I said, I wish they could have done more with the characters. I just felt like they didn't go anywhere.
I feel like they had a whole wall when they were cooking this movie up. They had a whole wall of pictures of the iconic things that happened in the first one. And they're like, all right, we're going to kind of do a new story.
Mm-hmm.
Let's twist it a little bit. Let's make the daughter die.
Yeah.
But we got to hit all these checkpoints from the original, like the Achilles slice, when Lithgow's Achilles gets sliced.
Yeah.
That's from the original. They almost did it exactly like the original when Gage cuts his Achilles from under the bed. They almost did it, and I was like, man, this is like so fucking on the nose with some of the imagery from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it was just a bad combination of trying to mix in way too much from the first one, but also tell a new story.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, I'll give you an example here. In the original, Lewis brings Gage back to life, right? He's still the one that does that pulls the trigger on that?
Yeah.
Okay, like, here's what I'm saying.
That whole part was like exactly the fucking same.
Yeah.
Like him
yeah,
carrying the body up there and digging and all
Right,
that was
that's-
like exactly out of the first one.
Right, okay. That's what I remember. Like, here's what I'm talking about. So Rachel has this haunted past because she feels guilty that she killed her sister, right? Like,
Inadvertently.
inadvertently, but she still feels responsible.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it would be a lot more powerful and a lot more of an arc and fulfilling if, like, in this film, Ellie's death, like, Rachel was responsible for Ellie's death somehow, just through, like, negligence or just she wasn't watching her and she died. So then she feels responsible, and then Rachel's the one that brings her back.
Ah.
So in that sense, her whole backstory makes sense because it builds up and gives her a motivation to bring Ellie back.
I
Because
like that's better.
You see what I'm saying?
That's better.
Like they could have done something like that because that whole backstory is really interesting. Like how shitty
Yeah,
is that?
I don't know. What disease does her sister have? Does she just have scoliosis? Because it looks like a lot more than just her spine twisting around. Like what the fuck? She got leprosy?
I don't know. She looked like she was halfway into a werewolf to me. Like
I
when
know,
saw her
like
from behind.
that's what I didn't like very much. It's like
Yeah, like
I got scoliosis, I got a crooked spine, but my
yeah,
hands aren't swelling up to fucking math. You know,
yeah.
like what, or is it like polio or something? Like
I have no idea. It's
I
some
don't
kind
know.
of spinal problem, but like
It's a disease that's been eradicated, I think, in our lifetime.
I hope so.
We don't have any reference there, right?
Yeah, we don't need any more diseases right now.
No.
But like I bought into like that's even if it was over exaggerated, I can even buy into that because it's almost told from her perspective as a young kid. So maybe visually it's meant to be
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying. Like she probably wasn't that fucked up looking, but the
No.
little kid was so freaked out.
right, but like little girl Rachel perceives it that way.
Yeah, okay.
And so like you see what I'm saying? Like they could have dug a little bit deeper and connected like backstories with what's going on in the story now and make it come across a lot more meaningful and have a way bigger payoff than the way they did it. So like that's where I was kind of disappointed because there was so much potential there, and I really liked her backstory. Like I thought in terms of the tragedy and how traumatic it was, that's really really good, like character building. But they don't do anything with it. It's wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, I still the more we talk about it, the more I just feel like they really wanted to hit a bunch of the same stuff from the first one, and
Right.
they wanted to twist the story a little bit, but they didn't go twist it far
Yeah.
enough.
Right.
Like even the part where I thought Lewis killed Judd, poisoned him, and killed him.
Yeah.
You know? I can't remember if that's in the first one or not. But I was like, oh, that's like an interesting twist. And then like 5 minutes later, he wakes up and he gave him a sleeping pill, apparently. Like he didn't do anything to him. So I was like, okay. And then they killed Judd off like almost identical to the first one.
Yeah.
So I felt like they maybe got a little gun shy about twisting the story too much.
Yeah, and like I said, this could all be because Stephen King has a very specific novel going on.
How much involvement does he have? Do you have any idea? Because so many of his books have been made into movies.
Yeah. So like I'm on the IMDb page and it says obviously writing credits. He has a writing credit, but like I don't see any kind of producer credit for him. And even if he did get a producer credit, like the meaning of producer on these films can be like he visited the set one day to have like it could range from that to like total involvement in story. So he's not even like from what I'm seeing, he's not even listed as a producer on the film.
I wonder how that works. They like buy the rights to the story.
Yeah, so like they have to buy the rights to adapt the screenplay. And sometimes or not they'll involve like the original writer. Like I know he was involved in Dr. Sleep at some capacity, I guess.
Yeah, well,
Like
that book's also like a lot more recent, right? It was like 2013 or some shit.
Right. Like with this, I don't know if they were just trying to, as much as they could, flesh out like the important bits from the novel. But I feel like this is a shell of the story you probably get in the novel.
Probably. And I'm scared to go back and watch the first one because I feel like maybe the first one sucks. The whole movie, I found myself like not being able to recall the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered certain scenes, and I got those in this. And then I couldn't pick out what was different from the old one in this one. Maybe that's because it's been freaking 20, however many years, 28 years or something since I've seen
and you were like
other
7.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
You're a 7-year-old Roger Ebert.
But I loved it then.
Yeah. So here's another a strength of this film. I do like the casting. I feel like the actors they chose in the roles really worked. So like I bought the emotions, I bought the performances they give, regardless of the motivation of the characters on paper. But like John Lithgow, he's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't know if you've seen this show on Netflix called The Crown, but it's basically about Queen Elizabeth. Like her transition of
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Well, he plays Winston Churchill
Oh,
in that series, and he is incredible.
is he a better Churchill than Gary Oldman?
To me, yeah.
Oh, that's some
So,
praise because Oldman's
yeah.
awesome. And was that The Darkest Hour?
Yeah, Darkest Hour. To me, I enjoyed John Lithgow's performance of Winston Churchill a lot more. And if I'm not mistaken, he won an Emmy for it too.
Okay.
But I'll have to see. But anyways, like long story short, he's a great actor. So I remember hearing the casting news when they cast him in this role, and I was like, man, it doesn't get any better than that's perfect casting. And so like I was really let down when I was just like, man, they needed to just slow down a little bit and take a little bit more time to develop the character. Cuz like what we got of him on screen, I thought was really really good in terms of his performance. But like still, I'm just like, dude, you are, for someone who cares, you're pretty screwed up, man.
Yeah.
Like the advice you give is awful.
Yeah, but he's gripped with I guess you just have to buy in that he's completely controlled by the grief demons.
Yeah.
But he did a great job. I don't know, it's I was just laughing every line that he had cuz I just got the South Park thing in my head.
See, like I wish I at least got a laugh out of it. But I didn't even get that. Like man.
Okay, so I really liked John Lithgow, and I really liked, how do you say her name? Jetty, or just Jetty Lawrence, the girl who plays Ellie.
Yeah, it's French.
Jetty.
Yeah, something like that. But I know we all know who you're talking about. Ellie.
Throw a freaking accent mark in there, and everything goes bonkers.
Yeah.
But every time she was on screen, I was fucking laughing my ass off. I loved how evil she was and how like almost sarcastic she was as a little zombie kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved all the physical violence, like when she's stabbing the shit out of Judd on the floor.
Yeah.
Like I really liked that.
She has like this dry snarkiness when she's like undead.
Yeah.
And it comes across really well.
Yeah.
I loved her.
I would have liked her to like, you know, what would have been another cool way to keep the storyline is for him to maybe keep the charade up for a while, like with Gage and the wife back in the house after he's buried her.
Oh.
Like him to keep her hidden for quite a while she was like wreaking havoc on the town, killing people and shit.
Yeah. That would have been
if
gnarly.
they would have got there sooner, they could have had, because like that, I really enjoyed that part of the movie. Like once she comes back, and if they would have got there a lot sooner, I felt like the movie just went by way too quick, and then they tried to cram all this evil super shock scares into the last 20 minutes.
Yeah. Like, so she was another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a really good job of she plays a really awesome, sweet little girl character that you absolutely fall in love with. And then the complete, like, 180, totally becoming a monster. Like, and you buy, I think, both sides of that coin. So, I mean, she did a great job. Like I said, Amy Seimetz, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but she, like Rachel, she did a good job. I thought, like, maybe I bought into her selling the grief a little bit more than you did. But to me, like, she did a fine job. I didn't have any problems with her. And then I really like Jason Clarke as Lewis. Like, the last film I saw him in was, he was in the Neil Armstrong movie. He played one of the astronauts that dies in the fire. But, like, he's been in other films. He's been in, like, Terminator Genesis as John Connor.
How's that Terminator movie?
Not very good.
Okay.
Poor guy.
I feel like he could have been the Invisible Man.
I could have seen that, yeah. But like, yeah, First Man is the name of the film he was in with Ryan Gosling. But yeah, like
is that any good?
That's a really good movie. I like that one. But he has a really good way of like showing emotion on his face.
Yeah.
Like he's a good actor, but you really can see the emotion on his face. He's really good at that.
Yeah, and he looked
so, like,
badass as a zombie at the end of the movie too.
Yeah. So I mean, none of the actors did a terrible job or anything. I thought the movie was really well cast. which like adds to the disappointment.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
total flub. Like it could have been awesome.
Yeah, and I think maybe more so than like angry or upset at it, I'm kind of bummed out because I can see
Yeah.
potential. I can see potential in this story.
Well,
and
I
this film.
expected a home run like it,
Yeah, me too.
and even Doctor Sleep. Doctor Sleep was really good.
And that's what I'd say. Like 7 out of 10 horror films coming out today are going to be pretty good. There's a lot of good directors out there making horror today, and
Yeah,
unfortunately,
we're kind of screwed with this shutdown shit. There was like a bunch of sweet horror movies about to come out.
yeah,
Candyman,
Candyman's one of them. There's
Quiet Place 2,
there's a bunch of good ones being moved around.
that pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything that was supposed to come out in the next 2 to 3 months got pushed. Did you have anything kind of more to add to characters? Was there anything that stuck out to you, like a performance that you that either like you really enjoyed or totally just thought was ridiculous?
No, not really. It's just there's just baggage with this film, so every particularly John Lithgow's character, I was just cracking up the whole time he was on screen, just because I was thinking about South Park,
Oh yeah.
and that maybe ruined a lot of this movie for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then
I kept expecting him to like be the character from South Park.
yeah,
I don't know. It was a weird vibe. It's the
might
most
have been
I've
just as
laughed.
campy.
It's the most I've laughed in a horror movie ever, by far.
Oh man. Yeah, one of these days we're gonna have to record like a live or a recorded sit down watch of a movie just to get some of these reactions.
All right.
But yeah, if you would have been there cracking up next to me, I probably would have just checked out. I would have been like, yeah, this movie's not good. And then like shout out to my favorite character in the film, Church.
Yeah.
Played by 4 different cats according to IMDb. Leo, Tonic, Jagger, and JD.
Yeah, the poster's better than the movie because that kitty.
Yeah, the whole time all I thought about was Kingston. And I'm
Yeah.
like, Kingston's a way cooler cat.
He kind of looks like that, though.
Yeah, he does.
I got some cats roaming my neighborhood that look just like this.
Really?
That look just like Church.
Like feral?
Yeah.
Like-
Oh, absolutely.
oh, wow.
They're tough outdoor cats battling coyotes and raccoons and bears and shit.
Damn.
Not really battling, just running probably. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
right,
I
well.
actually liked him in the movie a bunch. He was creepy.
Yeah, so did I.
He was like
I
the
don't know.
bringer of the demons, dude.
Yeah, like, I don't know. When movies do this with live animals, like, because anyone can do the CG thing, and a lot of times movies bomb when they try to do too much of
Yeah,
that.
didn't that new what is it?
Yeah.
Harrison
Har-
Ford
The
movie
Harrison Ford film.
Call of the
one
Wild.
yeah,
That-
well,
Did you see it?
no.
Yeah, that
I
bombed
just-
like super bad, right?
Yeah. Like when... I
Is
don't
that a
know.
Jack
When I-
London novel?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe so.
They better not remake White Fang.
But yeah, I didn't even give that film a try, unfortunately. But
No, I saw the
like-
trailer when we were going to the theaters and stuff. I saw the trailer for it multiple times and was like, man, that looks awful.
Yeah, and like when the number one criticism, like even before anyone's seen it, is like the dog. Why didn't they just go with a real dog? It's such a distraction.
And then
So
you
I'm-
see
I'm
a movie
really-
like Lion King where it's like insanely awesome. Maybe that's because it's all CG.
Yeah. I mean, that's understandable, but like I'm glad they didn't do the CG thing with a cat in this film because the real cats that play Church do a great job.
Yeah.
I totally bought their performances as feral cats.
I wonder
yeah,
how hard it is to get a cat to, sit on a mark and like hiss
Oh yeah.
and be vocal or scratch, or maybe they just let the camera roll for a really
Well, here's-
long time to get
Wait,
what
here's
they
the
need
thing
to get.
too, like
Because
how do you
cats aren't
direct-
super obedient animals.
Yeah, and for the most part, I mean, they don't look that creepy just sitting there.
Yeah,
Like,
that
how do you?
the makeup job that they did on the cats that are all fucked up after the car accident.
Yeah, like when they're just sitting there staring and just looking like they're gonna pounce. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a kind of a part of the movie that's like not really believable at all. It's like if your cat showed up back at your house looking like that, you're letting him in the house like covered in blood and mud and fucking cut open wounds all over him. It's like you're not just letting him back in the house like nothing happened.
Well, no, not only are we going to let him back in the house, we're going to let him sleep in Ellie's room, too.
Right?
Like
He's just back. It's all good. He's a demon cat now.
Like, Ellie loves this cat, so here he is. He's back and good as new. Yeah. Damn it, poor Church. Like, he was my favorite character. Now I can't even have that.
No, he was my favorite.
But yeah, no,
he was
I love
awesome.
Church was cool. But yeah, a lot of similarities to Kingston.
What do you think of the cinematography and like look and all that?
Again, the film works for me on that level too. So like everything just looks better than the original, to me at least. Like character designs with like the undead, the undead versions of the characters. I think Church looks way better in this film. Way more like scary and creepy. I liked a lot of the slow sweeping shots. The film opens up with like an aerial drone shot, like a slow kind of pan over the backwoods homestead area. Here's another question for you. What the hell was that?
What?
Like, it looks like they set Judd's house on fire, but like, is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't even fucking know.
I know. I was confused by that. I'm just like, what is going on? Because that's not where the story ends, like, at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
That was a little confusing. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, I mean the Northeast looks awesome. I'm looking at pictures from the 80s one.
Yeah.
And Church was a Russian blue.
Okay.
I had a cat that just like looked just like that we put down a few years back.
Oh, really?
And Gage, dude, the little evil kid.
Yeah.
He looks so awesome. I feel like
the original one?
Yeah, I feel like the original probably was awesome.
Okay. Well, I hope it was. Because I did not think this film was awesome.
That part of the movie doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
And they use that shot a few times in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That that drone shit that flying over.
Yeah. So like I get that was probably meant to set up where the film ends, but it's like the film doesn't even end there. So that's where I'm confused. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. But it, like again, like what I said, we're talking about how it looks and the whole vibe of like the atmosphere and technically how it's done. I bought all of that. Like the film looked great to me. I like the design of the cemetery.
Yeah.
I liked how it was shot. It looks like it was shot on location in the backwoods somewhere.
Yeah, I like that the actual Pet Sematary, but the evil cemetery, I didn't like any of that footage. It looked way too set, too much like a 1980s Star Wars freaking weird planet set to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like a Lego set that they put the characters on and then just blew up. Like, I don't know.
And the geographic part of it is just like ridiculous. It's like, okay, they're in the Northeast, like Vermont or some shit, New Hampshire, right? They're driving up from New York.
Yeah.
And it's this really beautiful deciduous forest. And then out of nowhere, there's just like an epic mountain with a giant mesa on top that's a swamp.
Yeah.
Like, is this Mordor or something, Like, that part I didn't like about the movie at all.
I don't know. Okay, so I do recall laughing in this film, and I laughed at the part where they're crossing, like, the dark forest, and you just get all these random noises.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, what was that? Looking up, and it's like these just complete out of nowhere, out of this world kind of sounds. It's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it seemed like way, way over the top.
Yeah. It seemed like a Michael Jackson music video, like Thriller. I was just, man, I don't know. But yeah, there's points where you can clearly tell that the film is shot on a soundstage.
Too much
But, like,
fog, man.
Yeah, those fog machines must have cost a fortune. But like, I love all the on-location shooting. At least what appears to be on-location shooting. Everything in the backwoods, and then I even like the look of the creepy kids with the masks. That's really awesome to look at, even though they serve no purpose.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that was all creepy and cool. And like, I bought all the creepy factor that they were selling in terms of the look of the film.
I got a
Nothing really bad
question
to say
for
about
you.
that. What's that?
What's up with like the staples in Ellie's head when she comes back?
Oh yeah,
Like, what part of the story is that? They don't flesh that out at all.
well, I assumed that she gets hit by a tanker, right? But her body's still fully intact for whatever reason.
Oh yeah,
So
she's
maybe-
just got a little bit of face.
Yeah, so maybe maybe it cracked her head open in the back. I mean, she should have been a pancake, but you can't bring back a pancake. So I don't know.
No, she got
It's-
like ejected because they found her off the road. You know.
Oh,
so
that's
she
right.
got
That's
like
right.
blasted by the tanker. I like that scene too, by the way, like with the truck flipping.
Actually, you know what? That's a good point. Like, if she gets hit face on, why is the back of her head cracked open?
yeah, I don't know. I was
Son of a
thinking like,
bitch.
oh, maybe there's like a different angle to the story where it's not zombie or it's not grief demons. It's some old man.
Yeah,
Who's
it's Judd,
dig-
and he's actually just this
He's
like
digging bodies up and putting wire and
Yeah.
brains back together.
yeah, it's a Frankenstein like
Yeah.
origin tale.
Yeah, that's where I was like, well, if what you said, I didn't even think for a second about her head being cracked open. And if that's what it
Yeah.
is, then okay, that makes sense. But it seems like kind of a little needless detail to put in there. Like you could have just had him ripping her hair out with the comb,
Yeah,
and that's creepy and gross enough as it is.
yeah, that's I don't know. That was there.
So what about score?
Score again, I thought worked pretty well. Like there wasn't a whole lot of it to me, but what was there, I mean, I actually kind of like the fact that at least to me there wasn't a whole lot of score going on because it kept that whole creepy vibe going. If they put more score in there, it just added to the cheese fest.
Yeah, I felt like there was too much anyway.
Oh, okay.
Because it was
okay.
just like a lot of creepy, slow sounds and music.
Yeah. And like I'm looking at pictures too, just stills of the movie, and there's some really good like promo art featuring those kids with the masks. And like you're selling me all this great stuff and it's just not there in the movie. Like it's there but there's no purpose to it.
It's
Like,
a
give me some
total
story.
whiff, dude.
It looks so good. Like,
Yeah.
look at all these pictures with these kids and all I typed in was the name of the film.
Yeah, the imagery of like the poster,
Mhm.
the trailer, yeah, all the imagery is like great.
Like
It's a whiff, man, because it's set up to be really good.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like this film could have been great. It has like an iconography. It has an atmosphere, a vibe. It's well cast, and it just completely fell flat. But
Yeah, I think it's really hard because in some cases remakes are awesome, and in this case, you know, it certainly looks like, at least for me, the remake is like a total whiff.
yeah. And like I'll throw him a bone because you're trying to adapt another Stephen King novel in a span of an hour and 40 minutes. So it's not going to be perfect, but I felt like it could have been better than what it was. But yeah, so I mean, go back to score. I was fine with the score. I think the score has a lot to do with my feelings of that atmosphere that I was mentioning earlier. So it all kind of adds to that feeling of the film, which I thought they did well. But yeah, give me a little bit more in terms of the meat.
On the music?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I could have
What about you?
done with less of the creepy noises and sounds and more silence.
Okay, yeah.
It didn't really feel like a suspenseful horror movie.
No.
It was
I
kind of
didn't
like
get
just a
that sense at all.
domino of bad. Not bad, but like bad things happening.
Yeah.
throughout the whole movie. It was just like a domino effect. It just kept happening.
Like no suspense, but a lot of dread.
Yeah,
Like-
that's a good way to put it.
Like a lot of dread going on, as opposed to like a film like Doctor Sleep, where I feel like you get more of that that sequence of events where it feels like you're getting closer and closer to something. You do get that suspense, but this, I don't think they were going for that vibe here. But I bought the vibe they were going for. I don't think they sold it too well.
Yeah, right. It's like everything was there to be perfect, but the way they crafted the story together with all the characters just didn't work.
Yeah. And then real quick before we wrap it up here, was there anything in the film that you found scary at all?
No,
Like was there a moment where you're just like, "Oh, that works."
no, I wasn't really startled once in the movie,
Yeah.
and yeah, nothing was really scary.
Yeah.
Because even like when Ellie comes back, it's not even like she's fucking with her daddy for a little bit. It's just like, boom, she's back and she's there and she's evil.
Yeah.
It's not even like they play up the angle of like, oh, she's kind of normal. Like they
Yeah,
don't
they
even
just
go
give you-
there. She's just automatically a psychopath.
See, there's another thing they could have done to at least make it interesting.
Yeah, for him to be like, oh, maybe I made the right decision.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
it start to progressively get worse and she's fucking with him.
But you don't get that.
You don't
It's
get
so
any of
predictable.
that. She's just
It-
she's just back and she's evil. Same with the cat. The cat's like
Yeah.
back and evil right away. He's not even like
Well,
the
that's the
slightest
problem.
bit
So like
normal.
it would have been fine if Church came back and Church was immediately messed up. And then you bring Ellie back, but then she comes back and she seems normal. Then that's kind of like that gets you because you're expecting her to be like Church coming back. But instead they give you the exact same thing with Church
Yeah.
on Ellie. Like
Yeah.
so
like,
there's nothing to, you know exactly where it's going.
he could have been like a mischievous cat that's causing ruckus for a week or two
Right.
and they don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. It's a whiff. It's a whiff, man. I wasn't scared, dude. Did you get scared at all in the movie?
No, and it's not even the kind of scared like there were a few jumpy parts where like I feel like even if you were expecting the jumps, like you still got the jump scare. But those were so like gimmicky. Those were
Yeah.
the gimmicky scares. There was nothing I felt legitimately scared of other than like physically jumping out of my seat because of the jump scare.
Yeah. Like in the It movies, I wasn't scared of anything, but I was at least
Mhm.
bought in.
Yeah.
You know, and this I just really wasn't. It just felt like it went too quick and didn't draw me in any
Yeah.
way.
I could see that. Yeah, for me, I like when I can't buy into characters early on, then I just don't connect really to the story. I feel like they tried, but they kind of missed the mark for me. So let's just get into the inevitable part of the show where we slap a score on this thing.
Hold on, we
So I'll
gotta
let you-
do love hates.
Oh yeah, sorry. Let's talk about the love hates real quick. Even though the whole show's been a love hate. All right, so I guess I'll start. I loved the look of the film. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the tone they set. I liked how you feel the sense of dread. You feel the sense of like hopelessness and depression throughout the whole film because that's what the characters are feeling. They set that up really well. I hated that I just couldn't buy into the characters, like the side plots of the characters, which could have been really interesting if they were woven into the plot a little more. I hated the fact that some characters were like dead end characters where they were just on screen to be there. Yeah, so like in terms of hates, I just really didn't like the way characters were handled in this movie.
Okay.
What about you?
I loved Ellie when she was the zombie kid. That was by far my favorite part of the movie.
Oh, and I love Church.
Oh yeah, gotta love the kitty. But I loved Ellie. She was my favorite part of the movie when she was the zombie kid, and I actually really, really enjoyed the ending.
Oh yeah.
Like I really liked how the whole family became Nazis, and the one kid who,
Nazis.
or not Nazis, zombies.
That would have been super. See, even if they did that, that would have been cool.
Now they're Nazi zombies. I think that's like in a video game, Nazi zombies.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But the fact that Gage is the only one who's not a little undead human, and they're all coming back for him at the end, I thought was pretty cool.
That was really jacked up. I was like, oh god.
I really
awful.
like that.
Yeah, that was cool, and like that was a moment that caught me off guard. I'll give him that. I wasn't expecting it to end where it did.
Yeah, you were expecting some type of happy ending in some way or another, like he kills Ellie.
Yeah.
And then kills his wife or something.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been pretty epic.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what I hated about the movie was all the baggage that it was coming with in terms of my love for South Park and my maybe not so valid love for the original. I hate that it like made me question how much I liked the first one. Because when I saw the It movies, it reassured how much I loved the first one.
Yeah.
And this movie really made me second guess my taste in horror movies. If the first one sucked. So I don't know if the first one sucks. I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But that's what I hated about it, man.
All right. Now let's slap a score on the sucker.
Okay.
Let's go with you first.
I'm going to give it a bong load and a half. 1.5.
Okay.
It's pretty. If you really like the old one, don't go see this one.
All right, so I just pulled this up real quick on Rotten Tomatoes. The original one has a 50% Rotten Tomato score. That's only with 34 reviews. So take that number with a grain of salt.
This one's got 58.
This one has a 58, I believe. And the audience score, it's rocking a 59%. Now, I don't know how many of these are verified, but that's out of 97,000 votes.
Okay, so it's maybe not as great as I remember it.
No, but it's
You know,
more than half.
It's pretty strange that critics like this movie a lot more than audience.
Yeah, I guess.
And
Maybe they're a little more lenient.
Didn't we do one recently that critics hated and audience loved it? I don't know.
Not off the top of my
Anna,
head.
yeah, Anna. The critics hated Anna, and the audience score was like 81% or some shit.
Like, I mean, I believe that. Like, it's an action flick with a really hot main character. Yeah, and it's fun. I didn't have so much fun with this movie.
No, I was kind of bummed. I apologize. This was a me pick.
No,
I
mean,
wanted to see this one.
No, well, if we do films that are only like these Oscar winners, that just becomes boring. So, and
Yeah.
I even if you didn't recommend this film, this was a film I've wanted to see for a long time.
I
anyways,
almost went and saw it in the theater when it came out before we were doing this stuff, before we were doing the podcast. But
Right.
yeah, a bong load and a half. It's not really worth your time. Especially if you cherish the old one like I do. Don't see this one because it might ruin your memories of the old one.
Yeah, just
and if you love
hold on to
South
those
Park
memories.
like I do, you're gonna laugh your ass off in this movie.
All right, fair enough. For me, I'm gonna give this a 2.5 buckets of popcorn.
Okay.
My hopes were so high for this movie, and I don't know if that was fair, but like it looked cool in the trailers, and it looked like it was gonna be another comeback, and it let me down. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5. And I'd also say, if you're just really into horror and you want to see something that's in the vein of like horror from the late 80s, early 90s, or even just the 80s in general that have that kind of vibe going for them with the cheese, you'll probably get something out of this movie. But like if you're a fan going in looking for like a quality horror film in the sense of some of these really good ones coming out today, this is not that kind of movie.
Where does this rank up next to like Jordan Peele's horror movies, which I haven't seen either of, but I hear
Oh man,
are epic.
those are on another level compared to this. Those are like art.
Okay.
This is like trying to jump scare you.
This has a
Yeah,
very, late 80s cheesy horror movie feel.
This fits like really well into that whole era of horror movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, take that as you will. I'm sure there's people that are going to watch this that really dig it. And good for you. Like I hope you do. But it just didn't work for me.
Yeah, same here.
So yeah, I mean if you decide to see it, you could get something out of it, but I couldn't really recommend this on good conscience.
I watched it on Hulu. It's on Hulu if you do want to watch it.
Yeah, so did I. Like if you want to give it a shot, try to do it for free. That's our breakdown of Pet Sematary, episode 17 of The Buff and the Blazer. Thanks for hanging with us, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, people, we're up over 1,000 downloads, so thank you so much.
Yeah, and everyone stay safe out there. It's still, things are getting a little better, but it's definitely really, really slow. So stay safe and just keep listening to podcasts and watching movies.
Stay busy.